I'm pumped to have you out here. So
It's
thanks for coming.
neat to be down here, man. Yeah, thanks for having me.
You spent a lot of time in California growing up, right? But
Yeah,
have you been here to Barrel House?
never,
Paso Robles?
never been down here before.
Yeah.
I don't even think we've been anywhere near. Maybe the closest we've been to here is like Morro Bay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's pretty close.
Back in February, we played the Siren.
Yeah. I'll be heading out there in October for Jesse Daniel. You know him?
I love Jesse, man. Good buddy of mine.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Him and I are from the same hometown.
Okay.
Same high school, even.
Nice.
Yeah. He's cool.
He's a real neat guy, man. I love Jesse and I love his music for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys just connect via music?
Yeah. When did I meet Jesse the first time? He came to watch us at Green Hall. That's what it was. We had been like kind of buddies over social media for a little bit, and then he came down to hang out when we played Green Hall in December with Randall King. So
yeah, he's solid.
it was neat.
As are you.
Oh, thanks, man.
Jake Jacobson.
Most of the time. Depends on who you ask.
Well, if you ask me, I wanted to get you on the Vancast because it's so solid.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks for joining today. I'm pumped to have you. When I saw I just check out who's coming through Barrel House. Sometimes I love this venue. And saw Josh Abbott Band, and then I saw you, and I'm like, I got to check this guy out.
Right on.
And I was like, yeah, I got to reach out. And
Well,
here
thanks,
we are.
dude. Yeah, we appreciate it. And I definitely like to do cool stuff like this, especially in cool little van places like this. This is badass.
I've heard you on podcasts before. Any in a van that you've done yet?
I don't think so.
First one.
I think this is the first one we've done in a van. I think I've probably only done 5 or 6 podcasts before,
Okay,
just in general. But
cool.
Yeah.
Well, the idea behind the Vancast is that I really like talking to people who, chase passions, turn their passion into a career. You are somebody who's done more than just country music with your life as well.
yeah,
And so it's like, I wanted to talk to you to get that perspective on, how you switch gears from doing one thing to the next, how you really channel your focus in going all into something, because definitely sounds like from the interviews I've listened to, you're an all-in kind of guy for sure when you're doing anything.
yeah. I don't do anything kind of half-assed. That's just not how my parents raised me to do things. And I mean, I take that into all aspects of my life.
Yeah.
But music was always kind of my getaway, my stress reliever. 'Cause like you noted on a second ago, I was, prior to this, I was on Team USA for trampoline gymnastics. And that was a trip. Especially, I started at 5 years old or 4 years old and did it all the way till I was 17. And so it's crazy to think that I'm almost 10 years retired at this point. This
Wow.
is year number 9. I've almost been doing it or been not doing it longer than I did it.
Okay, so that's a whole thing I definitely want to get into.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause that's next level. But going back just a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about, where you're from, where you grew up, and then how you got into that or the music first, or really just a little background for the folks of your story?
Yeah, so I was born in Reno, Nevada, and I grew up in a really small railroad logging ranching town in Northern California called Portola, middle of Plumas County. And my dad was a high school teacher and a football coach, and my mom ran a daycare / gymnastics gym. And so I, was running around in there since I could walk, and even before then. So that's really how I got into that side of things. And my dad sang in a country band when I was a kid, and he used to bring me up on stage to do Neon Moon with him and his boys. And so that's kind of how that started. And then it took a long lapse while I chased this trampoline dream. And I got to see some pretty cool things, before I was, I guess, old enough to appreciate them. I'd definitely like to go back to some of the places that we saw when I was a kid and enjoy them as an adult.
So when I saw that you're raised up in Northern California, I was trying to find the town. I couldn't find it, but because I'm from the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Okay.
Which, I don't know, it's probably a bit of ways.
Yeah, I think it's probably 7 hours maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, are you familiar with the Dixie Fire that burned a couple years ago?
Oh, yeah.
So that was Plumas County.
Okay.
So that it took out Greenville, which was actually one of the places my dad used to run around in high school with. My cousins used to live in there, and it's kind of in between Chico and Reno, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. Man. Closer to Reno than Chico, because you got the whole Highway 70, Feather River Canyon in between Chico and then Quincy. I went to college there. And
Okay.
But yeah, I grew up running around in Plumas County, and then we moved to Rockland when I was a kid. My dad got laid off, and my mom went and opened a much larger gym down there, and they had a pretty solid gymnastics program for 7 years maybe, and then we moved again out to Indiana because my mom took a job with the head office for USA Gymnastics, and she was basically the head honcho for Team USA Trampoline. So moved out there, and I moved out at I think 15 and moved into the host family in Alabama to start training with a new coach, and did that for 3 years, and then retired, and we moved back to Portola, and I finished out high school there.
Retired before high school was even over.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it just burned out a little bit, and I never really got a quote unquote normal childhood, and I wanted to see what high school was about and play high school sports, and so I played football and basketball and baseball, and I think that was probably the only school that I could have played football at.
Okay.
Because I mean, even now I'm not a big dude, man. I'm like 5'9", 150 pounds on a good day. And back then I was maybe like 5'3", 5'4", 5'5", maybe 100 pounds, 110 soaking wet,
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed, being back home and around with my grandparents. And so we grew up living next door to my grandpa, my dad's folks. So I'm really close with them. And it was really cool to get to finish out, where it all started, essentially.
That's awesome. So the involvement of your mom with gymnastics and stuff, is that kind of how you, what came first? You recognized you were pretty good at this off the bat, or was it something you had to work at and chase a dream more?
A little bit of both. It was one of those things that I was just naturally good at. And I think I was just running around and being a wild man, and my mom put that energy and, craziness into something that was useful for it. And everything with that was, age groups and levels. So from the time I was 5, I think I won my first national championship. Wow. But it was, it's like watching little kids go and kick a soccer ball in a circle kind of thing. It wasn't too much different. It's basically just, you're jumping and then you go to your stomach, and then you jump and go to your butt, and you jump and go to your back. And it wasn't anything crazy until you got to be 7, 8, 9 years old. I started doing double flips at 7, I think. Wow. And took a bad spill and broke my elbow, and that was not very fun, but there wasn't too many 7 and 8 year olds doing double flips anywhere in the country. So I always had kind of an advantage, and I was pretty successful. And then everybody kind of caught up, and I think I won my last one when I was 10 or 11. And then after that, I moved into a bigger division and a higher level, and ended up going up against people that were like 3 times my age at international competitions.
Wow.
But I stayed pretty much in the top 5 for my age level all the way through the rest of my career, pretty much.
Still at such a young age to be doing so well. I already, we talked about a little bit briefly. We touched on, you don't do anything just a little bit. So even at that young age, I feel like sometimes it takes people a lifetime to figure out how to, channel all this energy into being the best at what they can do. And so at that age, was it something that you were aware of, that you're like, I have this extreme focus and I'm going to channel this into doing well at this? Or, were you aware of that?
I think my mom made it aware for me and to me, because, when you think about it at that age, I don't think you quite understand what you actually have going on. It's more of just like, oh, shit, I'm really good at this. I ought to just keep doing it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that really was what it was. And I knew that I was good at it, and I knew that I was being successful. And so everything I did, I just wanted to chase the gold medal. And it was one of those things that was just completely out of the realm to not be successful. Because you'd think as a kid, like, oh, I don't want to disappoint my parents. But I think that's just like not knowing as a kid that I don't want to disappoint myself, because I know that I'm good at this, but it just seems like people always ask me, like, is your mom making you do this? Are your parents making you do this? No, I'm just good at it. I want to keep doing it because I'm good at it, and I can travel the world and hang out with my friends, and it's nothing like I'm being forced. Like, oh, you need to go to practice. Oh, you need to. And yeah, my parents are like, yeah, you need to go to practice, even when I don't want to go. But that's because they know that I'm going to be pissed off if I'm not as successful as I could have been. And there was always something about, a line my mom used to use was, there's 3 kids in Russia and China that are working twice as hard as you right now. And like, you're sitting on your ass playing video games, and I bet you they're like in a ballet class getting more flexible, or in the weight room getting stronger, or they're getting 50 more routines in. And so that was always kind of the driving force, was I flat out just didn't want anybody to beat me.
Yeah. It sounds like you were able to channel it well. I mean,
For the most part.
yeah.
Yeah, it definitely became overbearing as I got older and the injuries started to come, and I had a lot of problems with my back and my knees. And it was just, I think I reached a point where I was like, I think I'm just done. I just don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. And now I'm thankful that I stopped. My back still hurts.
Yeah.
And I still have, lurking injuries every now and again. I'm like, really?
Yeah. You're not flipping off stage or anything.
No. Every now and again I'll get a little ballsy, and I'll try to do a flip somewhere. Okay. And 9 times out of 10 I'll usually still land it.
Okay, that's pretty good.
I'm kind of getting to that point where it's like, I used to be able to just walk into a gym and kick my shoes off and like still almost do everything.
Wow.
But I don't think I've jumped on an actual trampoline in 5-6 years now at this point.
Okay.
I think it's been a while for me.
Yeah.
It was always something that I was hoping was going to lead all the way to the Olympics, just like everybody who does any Olympic sport wants to do.
Yeah.
And when I retired and I'd finished my senior year, I got recruited by the U.S. ski team. And they're like, oh, you grew up in Tahoe and you can flip on a trampoline. Like, did you ski? I was like, yeah, I skied. And they're like, well, do you want to like try aerial skiing and put like both those things together? And I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. And so I went on some trips and watched it like halfway through my senior year, and made the decision that I was going to move out to Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid, New York, right after graduation, and join the team. And I tried out and made the team, and spent like 4 months, basically the whole summer until the end of September out in Lake Placid. And then I realized it just wasn't what I wanted to do with my life, and moved back and started to work for a newspaper company, because my dream before music was always I wanted to work for ESPN, because I'm like a huge sports guy, man. I live, breathe, eat, sleep sports. And baseball was probably my favorite sport that I played growing up. And so I'm a huge baseball fan. And so getting to be in a position where, yeah, I want to work for ESPN. I want to go be a sideline reporter for the Giants, or, whatever it was. And so I started working in a newspaper company and getting that done. And then just wasn't really staying in love with it. And I didn't like that I had to go through so much school to achieve that, because I hate school. I hate it. I've always hated school. I like history and English. That's about it. But like math, science, no. You couldn't pay me to go sit through a math class, because I don't think I ever got higher than a C. And so when I just got done with college, I was like, I'm just done. I started to screw around with music, and I always loved writing songs, since I was a little kid in my grandma's living room, and on a guitar that I didn't know how to play. And I just sat there and strummed it, animalistically, and made up words. And so I did something that I started to kind of chase around the age of 20 and 21, when I, could start getting into bars and restaurants and playing for anybody who would listen. And then we moved into a position where I was like, you know what? I think I want to do this. Like, I want to chase this dream.
That's amazing. Yeah. How many lifetimes have you lived?
Too many.
I mean, it's cool too, thinking like, I want to get into music next. But it's funny, like, you take something like trampoline, you take, something like skiing, which, tons of people jump on a trampoline, go skiing.
Oh, yeah.
But to like set yourself a bar higher and go, I'm going to take this thing that a lot of people do and then just be, really, really good at it. I talked to plenty of people on here who do other things. I had a girl on here who does jump rope. How many kids jump rope? A ton. But she's like set herself apart. So I think it's so amazing when you can take something like that everybody does and just do it like exponentially better.
That's super neat. Yeah, I've been very lucky that God has blessed me with a lot of different abilities, but I think that this one right here with the music is why he put me on this earth, is to reach out and to connect with people on a level that I never knew imaginable, and reach people that may need a lyric that I'm singing, or may need the smile that we put on their face during the live show, or we're helping people get through things. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched the Jelly Roll documentary on Hulu.
No, not yet.
You ought to.
Yeah.
I was pretty unfamiliar with him. I just knew him from watching Vivo YouTube videos, or whoever music video was popping up next on my feed, or seeing his name on the charts and seeing his name on tour schedules and stuff like that. But I never really dug deep into what he is about or what his life story was until that thing came out in May, big documentary on Hulu. And man, the respect that I have for that guy now is massive. He comes from a just a regular middle of nowhere class America family, and never thought he was going to really aspire to be much, in and out of juvenile hall and stuff up until his, pretty much recently, I guess, and in and out of jail as an adult. But man, he has touched a crowd that I don't think anybody else could have. And it's just really inspiring to see his story and how he's connecting people that have similar backgrounds to his, and bringing them to country music and to music in general. So that's something that I hope that I can do someday. And we've got a song out right now called First Call. That's probably the closest thing that I've ever written or put out to encouraging somebody to reach out and ask for help if they're struggling with mental health issues, or if they're struggling with depression or alcohol abuse or anything really. So that songs like that make me think extra hard on what I'm supposed to be doing here. And that's kind of the bonus things, because I love to play music. I love to entertain people. I love to hang out with my friends for 250 days locked in a tour bus. It's a bonus that we get to do all that, because I can sit here and try and reach people that may need something that I can provide them, and I have no idea what it is until that day. So it's a crazy kind of side of this industry that I had never even thought about before.
That's so beautiful. And that actually leading into my question about, getting started with music and all that, I too am a believer. And so I think that's so wonderful that you're able to connect with people and, have like this underlying message that there's more to this world.
There is.
I think that's amazing. And so I want to get into that. And so when you're first like starting, I got to watch that documentary, by the way.
You have to, man. It's
intrigued. By
awesome.
The way. But when you're first playing, you said you're playing in bars, and you're playing music for people. Like, was it something about the response that you're getting from folks that made you feel like it was calling you? What really about your journey into music in your early 20s like made you stick with it? Because of course you're open for Josh Abbott band tonight.
Yeah.
This isn't your first day playing.
No. Yeah, I think at first it was more of just a something that I wanted to do, and because I've been singing since I could talk, and I always grew up singing the national anthem at places, and high school football games and anything like that, and just singing to sing. And my dad's like, hey, like girls like guys that can sing. And so I was like, well, 16-year-old, is when I really started like singing and actually taking time to get better and try to be a good singer. Even if God blessed me with a talent, I'm always going to do something where I can improve it. And so, playing in bars and stuff was kind of just more of me getting a feel for it, and trying to trying to hone in my craft and better myself. And we're still doing that to this day. I mean, getting better every single night in a show is the goal. I want to play the best show of my life every single night. And if I don't, I'm pissed off. And that's the competitor in me. And so getting into, what kind of called me to do it was kind of later in the career, more recently. I would say it just started out as this hobby and this passion that I had. But in the recent years, as we started to tour more and play shows and get in front of people that have never heard my name or seen my face before, listened to a single song of mine, for them to say, hey, I really connected with this song. This song really made me tear up. Then that's when we started hearing stuff like that, or, this song helped me get through a breakup. This song helped me, get out of this depression I was in and go out and drink beer with my friends again. Like that kind of thing is really what opened my eyes, and sitting and talking to God about what can I do for you is really what drove me to get to this point that I'm in right now.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is like you have this great sense of empathy for people, and also that other level of recognizing, who created humans. And I think you got to feel that, I'm sure, when you say you want to put on the best show for people. It's because, you see people and you know about our creator, for example.
Sure.
Like, how often are you, able to talk with people about, how they've been impacted by your music, or even share a little bit about your own story, off the stage to talk with folks too?
We usually have a couple of people almost every night that we can, we'll get into a conversation with, especially when we're opening shows, because during the headliner show and after the headliner show, I have plenty of time to just kind of enjoy it. But man, we've had a couple of instances where, and this kind of circles back to the point of, I'm a fan first, right? Like, I am a fan of music. I love listening to music that is not mine. I like listening to music outside of country music. I like listening to a lot of country music, but I like listening to some stuff that's outside of country music. I want to make people feel connected to my songs the way, George Strait or Garth Brooks or Alan Jackson or Randy Travis or those guys make me feel connected to the songs that they sing. Because as a fan, I have felt that. And so as an artist and a songwriter, I want people to feel that same way about my music. And so for people to say that they do is just this massive full circle, complete idea that I'm doing the right thing, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
Just little signs here and there. My first show that I ever played outside of like a 3-hour radius from Reno was with Randall King in Kearney, Nebraska. And I owe a lot to Randall King. He has become the big brother that I never had. He's believed in me when I didn't believe in myself and introduced me. Because of him, I have my manager, Scott Gunner, at Durango Artist Management, and a publishing deal in Nashville with BMG and Randall's company, Tonk On. And so that all stemmed from Twitter. I posted a cover of his song, Hey Cowgirl. He retweeted it, had an email the next day from Scott asking me to come meet with him in Nashville, and I did. And this was right in the middle of COVID. I was just doing anything I could to post videos online and get people to start listening to me if they hadn't yet, or keep people around that were already listening and paying attention. So they tried to put us on a bunch of shows, and the shows just kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back because of COVID regulations. The day before we were supposed to leave, we played the Reno Rodeo kickoff concert with Kip Moore and Travis Denning. We were one of 3, and the next morning we flew out to Denver, where my dad had already left 2 days before with a truck and trailer full of our gear, and picked us up in Denver. We went to Kearney, Nebraska, to Joe's Honky Tonk to play with Randall King. And about 3/4 of the way through the show, his tour manager, John, came up to me and he said, hey, do you know all the words to Friends in Low Places? And I was like, well, yeah, of course I do. He goes, okay, Randall might pull you up here in just a little bit and let you sing it with him. And I was like, sick. So I was, sitting there, you instantly start running through every word of the song that and like, okay, am I missing any? Do I need to look it up on my phone? Like, what do I do? And I was a big Randall King fan to begin with. So, now being put as an opener on one of his shows, it was like, oh shit, okay, here we go. And about 10 minutes later, Randall runs to the side of the stage and he goes, hey, do you know Neon Moon? And I was like, yeah. That's the first song I ever knew all the words to. I sang with my dad growing up. And he goes, okay, let's go. So he brings me up and we sing Neon Moon with my dad in the crowd because he had drove all of our stuff out. And that was one of those things that was like, okay, you are where you need to be.
Wow.
Like God is saying you are doing the right thing. I know it sucks. I know it's hard, but you are where I want you. And so that was one of those signs from above that I was really thinking of. I mean, out of every song on the planet, why Neon Moon?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was a reason.
Yeah.
And, getting to know Randall now over the last 3 years almost, it's been, we share a lot of the same ideas. And he lived what I'm living through right this second, not too long ago. So anytime I'm, struggling and having a tough time and I don't really see the light at the end of the tunnel, he's always there to kind of pick me back up and say, hey, no, it's just for a second. Just, you can embrace the suck for a second and then you'll be rewarded for it. Trust me. And so then, it'll be a tough couple weeks and then all of a sudden some exciting news will happen and then tough couple weeks and then more exciting news. And it's where we are in my career right now is just this never ending cycle of embrace the suck, good news, embrace the suck, good news. So it's cool to be able to kind of follow in his footsteps. And every single time I'm feeling down, I get a sign from above that is like, you are where you need to be right now.
I'm so excited people are going to hear that message.
Crazy.
For people who know it or, people who don't know, that's just amazing. I think too, it's more than just, doing the right thing and then like getting reward. Like you said, there's ups and downs and it's not like you do this and God will give you this. It's like staying faithful and trusting in his plan, even when you don't know how it's going to play out, because time and time again, the downs come with those ups.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, I mean, was it COVID or what are some of the like main challenges that you've like had to like lean on God for throughout your country music career so far that you could, I think, I guess, impart to others that, this is an example where I didn't know how it was going to pan out and it did.
Yeah, COVID was definitely a big one. I played my first show my first real show in July of 2019 with Jason Boland. And I put together a band in like 2 weeks and it was absolutely brutal to look back and watch these videos again because it was rough. But we played probably 4 more shows, if that, before the shutdown. And it's like, well, I just started this new career. I just left my job to do this. Did I really just start chasing this dream all for there never to be a concert again? Like what? Why?
Terrifying.
I left college to do this, And so leaning on him during that time was tough. And I kept getting screwed over by the unemployment or COVID relief or whatever it was in the state of Nevada, and they still owe me like $37,000. And so getting through, COVID on my music was they said, okay, if you're a musician, you need to go to this department. You can't go to the regular, unemployment. And so I'd go to that and they'd send me back and forth for like 8 months. And so I didn't have income for like 8 months. I was like mowing lawns and doing DoorDash and Lyft and whatever I could to just try and pay my freaking rent. And then more recently, it's kind of been like right now we're dealing with some tough, I wouldn't say like tough circumstances. It's just we're sitting so close and we've been very lucky to have everything that we've had so quickly. But but it's frustrating to, get into a position where you're like, okay, I can feel it. I can feel it. I can reach out and I can almost grab it. And then you're still so far away from making it. Sure. And like we have all these things. It's like, okay, we just need, like 5 sponsors. If we have like 5 like big sponsors, like everything's going to be great. And then we'd have it set up and then everything would fall through. And so then we get into a position where, I've still got to pay the guys. I've still got to, like, I don't take a check from shows. I don't, because essentially I'm running a small business. So if I'm taking money to pay myself, I'm taking it away from my business. So everything that we make at shows and stuff just goes to bills and payroll, and I'm able to scrape by on my songwriting stuff. And getting to a position where I can afford to pay all of these guys to do nothing but play music is the ultimate goal. And then myself, because when you look at an act, it might be my name on the bill, it might be my name on the ticket, it might be my name on your boards here in the podcast room, but without guys like T-Mac sitting over here and all of my band, like, this doesn't happen. And I think that people really lose sight of that, and they just think that these artists are just raking in money. And I've got like high school buddies that I haven't seen in forever, and they're like, "Oh, dude, like you're so successful. Like, I'm sure you're just making a ton of money." I'm doing okay. And it's one of those things. It's like, I know where my supply comes from. I know it doesn't come from somebody's bank. I know that it comes from above, and my mom has to remind me of that sometimes. And but I know that as long as I'm taking care of them, I will be taken care of as well. And not to say that we don't have days where money's tight and we're not sure if we're going to have enough fuel to get to the next place, but it's a catch-22 just like with everything and starting a small business. We could be in a van like this, which we did for 2 years, but being out west, we're spending more getting to the show than we would be just buying a bus and living on it. So I bought my bus in June, and we had a bus before, which we're still trying to sell. So if anybody's looking for a 1983 MCI tour bus that's in really good shape, holler at your boy.
We'll do a bus cast next.
Yeah. Bus cast. And so this new bus is, it's got a shower and a bathroom and everything, and it's making our lives easier because now we're not paying for hotels. When you're running as often as we are, I think, dude, my hotel bill was through the roof every week. Because if we're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday in just Wyoming, for example, that's 3 days to drive out there. 2 days to drive out there if we're pushing it. I mean, we'd stop in Salt Lake, right? Stop in wherever else, maybe Laramie. And then if we're going anywhere past Wyoming, that's the 3rd day. So just that's fuel for a day, hotels for everybody, fuel for a day, hotels for everybody. And we haven't even gotten to the show yet.
And food and all
that kind of stuff. So being where we're at, we still should be in a van, theoretically. But being in the bus is actually cheaper for us to do, which is crazy to think about. And we tried the whole sleep in the van, and everybody split one room and whatever we could to cut back on money. And it, then you run into problems of everybody's tired and the show sucks. And but we've been very fortunate to have the sponsors that we do have that help out, however they can, because we don't have any massive sponsorships. I mean, we're fortunate to have AT&T provide us a Wi-Fi hotspot every year for free. So, in return that I, do stuff for them as well. And, it's nothing one-sided. I don't like the word sponsorship because I want to start partnerships. I want people that I can grow with. And my boot company, same thing. They're just starting out. They make a lot of really, really, really nice products. Skyver Boots out of Fallon, Nevada, and they, they don't have hundreds and millions of dollars to just throw at us and help us out because they're in the same fledgling stages that we are. So, I'd hook them up and put their logo on the bus and do all this stuff for them and try and play for as cheap as I can afford to at their booth at the NFR every year in Vegas, and just try and help these companies. So it's more of, I think there's a lot more that goes into this than most everybody knows, and it's eye opening because I would have never expected it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm sure it could be. If people are listening to this thinking, "Wow, that's scary," to go on, tight income or doing this and that to get to the shows to like you said, you're not like making millions out here or anything yet, but
correct yet.
But I think again it goes back to, it's got to be from your your solid upbringing, you're trying hard from a young age, your faith too, like that has to count for a lot.
I think it does. I think it also has a lot to do with creating a good core group around you. My mom always said that and my dad, that I needed to surround myself with like-minded people. And that's the reason that my mom put me in these, higher age and level divisions when I was doing trampoline, so that I always had something to chase. And so now it's kind of the same thing. Like, we're hanging with the big dogs in the music industry, and I'm never comfortable. There's always something more. And because I think if you get comfortable, you settle and you're unsuccessful. You should never be comfortable.
Yeah.
In some aspects.
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah, you get content and you just stop trying. And yeah, it's always good to
surrounding yourself with people that buy in. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had coaches that have been like, if you don't buy into the program, we are not going to be successful. So it's it's the same thing with having a core group of guys on the bus and in the crew that want to be there and have similar goals and want to help you succeed, because then they succeed.
Mm-hmm. I know we don't have a ton of time because we still got a show tonight, which I'm pumped for.
I can't wait for it, man. It's going to be a blast.
Josh Abbott Band, that's got to be awesome. Can you tell us quick before you go, or not quick, however you want to answer, but what it's been like to take Lovin' and Leavin', your EP, on the road for the last year?
It was sick. That was the first project that I had ever put out, and the kind of how we got around to getting the songs for it was something like I had never experienced. I mean, my manager Scott and I sat down and listened to like 200 songs in a hotel room in Reno in November of 21, and I picked my favorite, he picked his favorite, and then we sent our favorites to Trent Willman, who was producing that EP. He also produces Kojo and some other really awesome artists. And he picked his favorites, and we kind of voted on them. And then we decided that we were going to pick 2 that I'd written and 2 that I hadn't. And so Rolling Stone, and actually, sorry, we were only going to do 3. We were going to cut 3 songs and put out 3 songs. And then 2 weeks before we were set to go in the studio, I wrote Bulletproof with Brett Cherokee and Drew Peoples at a Seagale in Nashville. And that was my first ever session, like in Nashville, in a publishing house, like with other songwriters. And it was completely a mind-blowing experience. And so to walk out of that with a song like Bulletproof was really neat. And Scott's like, all right, yeah, we're cutting that one. So
and that's one of my favorite
2 weeks later, me too, man, still to this day.
Of anybody.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And so being able to take it on the road and we're happy to play for 20 people. So when we can get into a room where there's 200 to 300 people that know every word to every song on that record, it's like just this completely new experience that I'm still trying to get used to. And sometimes I lay awake at night, I'm like, why is anybody listening to my music like they do? Like it's weird to think about that, people now think of me the way I thought of my favorite artists, and trying to be appreciative of the success while remaining humbled is a key. But for people to it's trippy. It's trippy to think that people are wanting to listen to my songs like they do. And I'm so grateful for it, because I don't know why. I really don't know why. I have a hard time with accepting praise and accepting, these things, but that's just because I always think I can get better. But I have to say that touring this new EP, Reno, is probably a little bit more fun.
Yeah. I
think so.
All right.
That one came out August 4th, but we've been playing the songs for almost a year now, most of them. I think I can appreciate it more this time around. That's why I like it more. And I also feel more confident as an artist at this point.
Okay.
And, playing the songs from that Lovin' and Leavin' record is neat. And I love playing those songs every night. But these newer songs, I think I just fell in love. I fell in love with them just a little bit more. And I was able to kind of hone it in before, rather than like getting the mixes back from the first one with Lovin' and Leavin' and then just start playing those versions immediately. Like, we played these songs for a longer time, so I became more comfortable with them earlier on. And then when we got the mixes for these ones and the band learned the studio versions, it was like, okay, like, these are the songs now. But we'd already played, comfortable enough to put on a show. Because if you were to watch a video from me from like 4 years ago, I stood there, like, did not move, like a statue the whole time. And so learning how to entertain has been a lot of fun.
It's a whole nother craft.
It's a whole nother thing. So getting comfortable with the songs and playing the songs well, then you can move on to the entertainment side. And so it's been really fun to kind of learn about that. And I think there's just the songs, as a songwriter, you appreciate your songs improving, and you appreciate, writing songs with more substance than you ever thought you could have. Songs like First Call. But just touring in general is just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's just a blast. So touring the Lovin' and Leavin' record and then touring this Reno EP that's brand new is just, a treat. And especially on nights like tonight, 2 4-song EPs, like, we're going to play my discography every night.
I'm pumped for that.
Nobody is ever going to come to a show. Rarely you're going to come to a show where you're not going to hear a song that I put out. Like, unless we're playing like a 30-minute power through set, like we did with Tracy Lawrence a couple weeks or about a month ago now. It's like, most of the time when we get 45 minutes to an hour to open the show, you are going to hear every single song that I've put out. So
I'm pumped. Cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. And then we get to throw some new ones in there, and then some of my favorite covers.
Cool. I'm excited for that. Similarly to me being a filmmaker too, it's fun to see yourself just grow and say, okay, I can look back 4 years ago and say, this is what I was doing then, here's where I am now. And then also using that as a guide to go, who knows where I'll be in another 4 years. That's
the crazy thing with like stream counting. So I'm really bad about, like, I'm not successful enough to chart watch, but like I've known people that chart watch when they have a song charting. Like, they'll check the chart like religiously. And I'm really bad about doing that with stream counts. Because I'm like, okay, where is this song comparing to the last one? Or where is this EP comparing to the first one as far as streams in X amount of time? And so then I'm constantly like beating myself up because I'm like, oh, this song's not beating it. Instead of just sitting back and being thankful that any streams are happening.
Sure.
And so I'm trying to be better about that. But I think that touring is the most fun that I could ever have, ever.
Seems like a lot of fun.
Playing shows in a different city, almost every night is just this whole new experience. And for people that, like I said earlier, I've never heard my music, never heard my name, seen my face, nothing, to be able to have them come up to me at the end of the night and say, hey, we had never heard of you up until this point. Like, we are huge fans now. It's just this, it's the most rewarding kind of instant gratification. And that's what keeps you going into the next day. And, I think the number one misconception when it comes to being like an artist is like, oh, it's all just, parties and women and whatever. And I don't think I don't know about other people's camps, but as far as my camp goes, I can say that's like definitely not who we are. I mean, the only partying we do is like when the bus is rolling to the next venue at like 2:30 in the morning. Like, we'll just drink some whiskey and watch old George Strait videos or old Randy Travis videos from like 1985, and that's how we get down, man. That's how we get down. We don't partake in anything too crazy.
That's the best time right there. I like that.
And it's all a learning experience.
Yeah.
What can we take from the guys that have done it before us?
Mm-hmm.
What can we take from these videos that we're watching? Like, oh, this arrangement's cool. Maybe it'll give us an idea. It's like watching game film from not your game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's cool. Like we like to watch and hear show videos because we know what we can improve on. And if we hear something that's like, oh, well, what if we tried this? But like the similarities between sports and being a touring musician are way too similar.
Yeah.
It's freaky.
So I got to answer one of your questions and then ask you one last question.
All right.
Because you said, you asked, I don't know why people resonate with my music so much. And I'm going to tell you from my personal experience of listening to your music and now talking to you on the Vancast is you have this level of like authenticity about you. You're not singing about things you don't know, it's all from your heart. And I think also you have like your faith. I think that is such a strong grounding that when people who don't even know that about somebody can often tell. Because they have a kindness about them. It's just a different way that they come off, right?
Thank you.
So I think it's this authentic sound and then just your solid persona. And so I wanted to answer that question.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot, man.
Of course, absolutely. And then also going into my last question, when people ask you, I know we've talked about it in so many different ways already, but when people are saying, how do I even get started? I like playing guitar, but how do I, decide I'm going to pursue this? What's the first piece of advice, I guess, that you could tell them that maybe, someone told you when you were just getting going?
Don't listen to anybody that says no. Because you can get 1,000 no's and one yes, and that's still one yes.
Mm-hmm.
But practice every day and get as good as you can until you don't need somebody else, they need you, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is always such a hard question to answer, in my opinion, because everybody's career is different. Everybody takes a different path to the same treasure chest. It's this. I don't think anybody has ever had the same path to success when it comes to music. Obviously, there's things that you can do to make sure that you're giving yourself the most ample opportunities for success, but never settle. Never become content with your playing or your singing or your writing, and always strive to improve and take risks.
That's a great word. I would say, yeah, absolutely. When things don't seem like they're panning out, keep going, because they might pan out tomorrow.
Oh, you hear stories all the time. My favorite story is Lainey Wilson talking about how she called her sister and she said she was done playing music or done chasing the music dream, and she was moving back to Louisiana. And then I can't remember what the time frame was, but shortly after, like, things a man ought to know just blew up.
Yeah. Wow.
And you just never know.
You just never know.
You never know. There's so many of like I almost gave up, but then the next day something happened, or the next week something happened, and that's how many times I've sat there and been like, I'm done. Several times. I won't lie to anybody. I've thought about throwing in the towel, and then I remember there's a greater purpose to this isn't necessarily about me.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows me to keep going.
And the other thing too is that it's clear that you actually care about this thing. It's not that you're doing something that you think will make you a lot of money, so I'm going to chase it. Anybody, you could be a doctor, or you could chase that too, because that makes money, but it's something you care about.
I do.
And also, I just got to go back again, because you're talking about like your team. It's not just I'm the guy. It's like you really know where you come from, and there's a whole team that's helping everybody do this. And I think that's so cool. I'm so fortunate to have had you on here and talk to you about all this.
It's been a blast, man. Anytime we're down here, love to do it again.
Awesome. Yeah, Jake Jacobson, I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see what's up next.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Feel like I'm at the tippy top of my game, looking down at the raft. confidence. Come on now.